Hello and welcome to Good Nightmare, a podcast where in the name of inconvenience I have decided to paint my nails right before picking up my microphone to record. I know I am not alone when I wonder what the world will find of me when I'm gone. With the internet, it's no doubt that there'll be some embarrassing photos, old Twitter posts, and this podcast. Though who knows who'll stumble across these things, or if they'll ever be looked at again, and how long until they fade out of memory. Who knows if my personal belongings, such as books that I've scribbled thoughts in, or my old diaries or photos, will ever be found. There's something special about picking up something from the past. For example, some of the favourite books that I own I found in op shops, and they're the ones that are 100 to 200 years old, and I mean printing-wise, those specific editions. Not first editions, but ones that just belong to someone who lived well before my time, often with their name written on the end pages. It's like holding someone else's life in your hands, just this small glimpse of who they might have been and what might have become of them. It's an incredibly special feeling. Today's story is that of a life rediscovered. The life of a young May Hollister Woolsey. This topic was recommended via email by Steve, and as with all recommendations, it is so greatly appreciated. In 1979, a man named Ed Duffy purchased a home at 916 East Street, Sacramento. He was undertaking renovations when he discovered an old trunk under the stairs. It appeared the trunk had been there for some time, as it was far from a modern style, and it was full of items including photographs, trinkets, clothes, and a journal, dating back more than a century. The trunk had belonged to the Woolsey family, who lived in the area in the 1800s. After some digging and research, the origin of the trunk and the tragic tale of its owner was unveiled. To start at the very beginning, we should look at May's parents. Luther Woolsey was a pattern maker, meaning he would design and make tools and dies and moulds. This often included woodworking and would require great skill. In 1852, he married his wife, Mary Esther Cogswell, and the two soon welcomed their first child into the world in November 1853, William Jerome. In 1855, Luther opened a company in Ohio named Pierce, Woolsey and Company. They specialized in making cart and wagon wheels, but Luther was ambitious. He wanted to make a name for himself and his family, and Ohio could not provide. He moved to California by 1859 and would work for the miners' foundry. By 1866, he'd bought his Sacramento home. His wife was living with him and was due to give birth to their daughter May. His company had become incredibly successful and prominent. It was known as Hubbard's and Woolsey. That is until the warehouse burnt down in 1905. Socially, the Woolseys were in good standing. They were friends with the Crockers, for example, pioneers of the railroad business. Woolsey ended up working at the railroad shops in Sacramento, which would be his last known profession. Unfortunately, young May Woolsey would not live to witness her family's success. In September 1879, May became ill with what was suspected to be measles, or as a result of a mosquito bite. The 12-year-old was bedridden for several days before she passed away shortly before her 13th birthday. Family and friends were invited to a wake at the Woolsey home to celebrate and mourn the life of the Woolsey daughter. It was around this time that, possibly due to grief, or just a want to remember her daughter, Mary gathered many of May's belongings in a trunk and hid the trunk under the stairs, where it would remain until 1979. The trunk contained hundreds of items of May's, though what exactly was included is up for debate. The trunk currently resides at the Sacramento History Museum, where they display both the trunk itself and a selection of the items it contained. There is some contention over what items were included in the trunk, including a letter allegedly written by May, which the Sacramento History Museum says doesn't actually exist. Haunting in the Woolsey home in the time of Luther and Mary were also reported. Mary was said to have witnessed objects flying or moving around the house, though many people put these visions down to her intense grief. It's said that she employed psychics and clairvoyants in order to help her communicate with her departed daughter. Whether you believe in the haunting or not, the idea that it is real has prevailed to this day. May was buried in the Sacramento City Cemetery, where she was finally reunited with her parents after their passing. Hundreds of people are reported to visit her grave each year, many claiming to have seen her spirit in the area, or to feel as though they're visiting a friend. There's said to be a calming and soothing presence by the gravesite. What I would love to know is if you've ever visited this particular site, or another gravesite or haunted one in particular, where you felt an otherworldly presence. Personally, I used to visit the cemetery a lot as a child, and I've always found them a place of comfort. If you would like to write in to my email address, I would be more than happy to share your story on the podcast, with your permission, of course. You can reach me at goodnightmare_s@outlook.com. I'm also on Facebook at goodnightmarepod, and on Instagram and Twitter at goodnightmare_s. If you have an episode recommendation or request, the best place to reach me is via email. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this tale and maybe spend some time thinking about the impact that you would like to leave on the world. Until next time, sweet dreams. Hi, Maud.
Hey, true crime listeners, check out our podcast, I Said Goddamn. We're a true crime comedy podcast hosted by two besties who like to share messed up cases that make you say goddamn. Every Sunday, we try to one-up each other's story by sharing a horrific case the other has never heard of. Along the way, we splash in some wildly inappropriate jokes and colorful language. Listen every Sunday from any of your favorite podcast directories. Also, follow us on Twitter at ISGD Podcast or visit our website, isgdpodcast.com.